The Barney and Betty Hill UFO incident is widely regarded as the first well-documented and publicized alien abduction case in the United States. Occurring on September 19th to 20th, 1961, in rural New Hampshire, this event catapulted an ordinary couple from Portsmouth into the international spotlight, shaping the modern narrative of extraterrestrial encounters. Below is a comprehensive exploration of the incident, their story, the aftermath, and its lasting cultural impact. Barney and Betty Hill, a postal worker and a social worker respectively, were returning home to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, from a belated honeymoon in Montreal, Canada. Driving through the White Mountains along U.S. Route 3 late at night, they noticed a bright light in the sky near Lancaster. Initially dismissing it as a plane or star, Betty, using binoculars, observed it as a spinning disk that seemed to follow their car. Barney, skeptical at first, stopped the vehicle to investigate further. Armed with a handgun and binoculars, he described seeing a large pancake-shaped object about the size of a jet, but flat, with beings in uniforms, staring at him through its windows. He later recalled feeling an overwhelming sense that they were not human and intended to capture him. Panicked, Barney returned to the car and sped off. Soon after, the couple heard strange beeping noises from the trunk, felt drowsy, and experienced a tingling sensation. Their next clear memory was waking up at home in Portsmouth the following morning, unable to account for approximately 2 hours of lost time, or the 35 miles between their last recollection near Lincoln and their arrival in Ashland. The Hills noticed oddities upon returning home. Barney's shoes were scuffed, Betty's dress was torn, their watches had stopped working, and shiny spots on their car's trunk caused a compass needle to whirl wildly when held close, returning to normal when moved away. Seeking answers, Betty reported the sighting to Pease Air Force Base the next day, though they withheld the abduction details, fearing ridicule. The Air Force filed it under Project Blue Book as insufficient data, suggesting they mistook Jupiter for a UFO. Betty, unconvinced, began researching UFOs at the library, and 10 days later, she experienced vivid dreams of being aboard a spacecraft for 5 consecutive nights. About a year later, plagued by anxiety and nightmares, the Hills sought help from Dr. Benjamin Simon, a Boston psychiatrist renowned for hypnosis therapy. Beginning in 1964, Simon conducted separate sessions with Barney and Betty, uncovering remarkably consistent yet chilling accounts of their missing hours. They described being intercepted by a group of humanoid beings, short, gray-skinned, with large heads and black eyes, who blocked their car and led them aboard a landed craft. Separated, they underwent medical examinations. Hair and nail samples were taken, skin was scraped, and needles probed their bodies. Betty recalled a long needle inserted into her stomach, described as a pregnancy test, and a conversation in English with a leader who showed her a star map, later linked by ufologists to the Zeta Reticuli system. Barney, meanwhile, described communication via thought transference, a term he didn't know then, and an intense fear of the being's staring eyes. Simon concluded Barney's memories were fantasies influenced by Betty's dreams, diagnosing the case as a psychological aberration. However, the Hills maintained their story was real, supported by the consistency between their separate accounts. Barney, 1923 to 1969, and Betty, 1919 to 2004. Hill were an interracial couple. Barney was black, Betty was white, in an era when such unions faced significant prejudice. Both were respected community members. Barney served on a local U.S. Civil Rights Commission board, and Betty, a University of New Hampshire graduate, worked in child welfare. They were also active in the NAACP and their Unitarian Church, reflecting their commitment to social justice. Their grounded, educated backgrounds lent credibility to their claims, though it also fueled speculation that racial tensions influenced their experience. The Hills kept their story private until 1963, sharing it with a church group and a local UFO study group. In 1965, a Boston Traveler article leaked details, thrusting them into the public eye. Their tale was detailed in John G. Fuller's 1966 bestseller, The Interrupted Journey, and adapted into the 1975 TV movie, The UFO Incident, starring James Earl Jones and Estelle Parsons. Barney appeared on To Tell the Truth in 1966, further amplifying their fame. Their description of gray aliens with large eyes became an archetype in UFO lore, influencing media like Close Encounters of the Third Kind and The X-Files. Before their story, alien encounters were often portrayed as friendly. The Hills introduced a darker, more invasive narrative of abductions and missing time. In 2011, New Hampshire erected a historical marker on Route 3 near Lincoln, commemorating the incident as the first widely reported UFO abduction report in the United States. Astronomer Walter N. Webb of NICAP interviewed the Hills on October 21, 1961, concluding they were truthful, though he noted minor uncertainties typical of human observation. The Air Force and Simon dismissed their claims, but Betty's star map, recreated under hypnosis, intrigued ufologists, who tied it to Zeta Reticuli. Critics argue the light was an aircraft beacon, the memories were false, a hypnosis artifact, and Betty's story evolved over time. After Barney's death from a stroke in 1969, Betty became a dedicated ufologist, reporting frequent UFO sightings until her death from lung cancer in 2004. Betty's niece, Kathleen Marden, co-authored Captured, 2004, with physicist Stanton Friedman, offering an insider's perspective and refuting debunkers. Some, like historian Matthew Bowman in his 2023 book, suggest the abduction reflected the Hills' frustrations with racial inequality rather than an extraterrestrial event. Regardless, their archive at the University of New Hampshire remains a popular resource, and their story endures in pop culture, from Project Blue Book episodes to comics like Blue Book, 1961. The Barney and Betty Hill incident, whether fact, psychological phenomenon, or allegory, remains a cornerstone of UFO history, sparking debate and fascination over 6 decades later on this date, February 21st, 2025.